Happy Sunday from LBCC Historical. And I was inspired last night when we went out for coffee, and I normally get like lavender lattes or lavender breves. And I was sitting there thinking, wow, we could do some lavender sugar. It would be really awesome. So today what we're going to do is give you a recipe for lavender sugar and learn a bit about the history of lavender. Lavender is pretty big today. It was big historically. So what we're going to do is I pulled some books from the library, and I thought it would be kind of fun to just go over them. So a lot of us know, obviously, lavender, like it's everywhere. So, but let's learn a bit about the history. The first book that I'm going to pull is this one. I've had this one for a long time, The Complete Medicinal Herbal. And so just in case you don't know what lavender looks like, even though I'm sure you guys do, this is lavender right here, and there's different types of lavender. This is only one type of lavender. And so they say that in 1640, John Parkinson said it was especially good use for all the grieves and pains of the head and the brain. And it's one of the most popular medicinal herbs since ancient times. Lavender derives its name from Latin, lavare, to wash. In Arab medicine, lavender is used as an expectorant, an antispasmodic, while in European folk tradition, it's regarded as a useful wound herb and a worm remedy for children. It's bitter, dry, and cooling. Oils, tannins, flavonoids. It helps relax, antispasmodic, circulatory, stimulant, tonic for the nervous system, antibacterial, bioflow. We'll talk about that a little bit with Culpeper. If you guys know who Culpeper is, he's kind of one of my heroes. But this is a really cool book. If you're interested in herbs, it kind of goes through like what you can use the applications for. And when I was younger, like in grade school, I really loved this book and would use these little bits a lot. So, for example, a hair rinse, it says dilute 5 to 10 drops of oil in water. This can be used for lice, or use a fine-tooth comb for shine. Massage oil, dilute 1 milliliter of lavender oil in 25 milliliter carrier oil and massage into painful muscles. So lavender can be used for a lot of things. Hey, Heather. Hey, Christy. Thank you. Yeah, well, see, remember how yesterday I said I was going to put my hair in pin curls? Well, we got home really late, and the pin curls didn't happen. I was so tired, I just went to bed. So this works. Okay, so this is like normal modern stuff. This is two, and then we'll go backwards. So this is an essential guide to aromatherapy, vibrational healing, and I'm really interested in not only the historical aspects of herbs, but I'm also really interested in the vibrations of atoms and molecules and how everything is made up of little tiny atoms, and everything vibrates at a different rate, and how they're doing research into this on how different vibrations equal different healing. So that was a lot to take in. So this is a very modern book, and I'm just going to read a few things from it. But when you're making perfume, and we're going to do a Jane Austen perfume class, it usually says that it's used as a top or a middle note in perfume. And if you are attending that class or attending Jane Austen, join us so you can learn more about perfumes. Usually it's distilled method of extraction, and there's a lot of different ways to distill oils. That's something else we can talk about if you guys are interested. And the parts used are the flowers, which are right here. The colors are green, lavender, purple, and white. Its astrological signs are Aquarius, Virgo, and Leo. And this stuff is old. Like, even though this seems new, where they associate it with zodiac signs and they associate it with planets and stuff, this stuff is super old. And you're going to see when we hit Culpeper how I believe he says lavender is associated with Mercury. But now they say it's associated with Earth, Moon, and Sun. The numbers are 11, 22, 33, and 44. Let's see. So complementary essences about the plant. Lavender is an evergreen plant that is native to the Mediterranean. It grows to a height of 3 feet, and it has light purple flowers. It can be used for mental, emotional, and physical. It's really great for everything. Like when people come into the shop, when we are on the road and, you know, they have like really itchy bug bites, or if they have sunburn, you know, we always direct them to the lavender pomade, because remember, a pomade is not just for hair, even though this 18th century recipe does say, you know, for dressing the hair only. You can use pomades, hard pomades, for solid perfumes, for salves, and when you have just a plain lavender pomade, it's just great to have around for bug bites or sore muscles or sunburns. You know, lavender takes care of so much, and most people like lavender. Some people are allergic to it. I have a couple friends who are actually allergic to it, so it can happen. Amy says, lavender has to be one of my favorite scents. I love lavender too. It's classic. It's a classic scent. So let's see here. And it says for safety reasons to not take while you're pregnant. So I think that's probably important. So lavender tidbits, interesting tidbits. Lavender gets its name from Latin lavar, which means to wash. Thieves who robbed victims of the plague during the Middle Ages actually used lavender as one of the ingredients in their vinegar-based concoction to protect them from becoming infected. Other ingredients of that, the four thieves, was garlic, rosemary, and thyme. Although lavender is a lover of dry, sunny, rocky places, English gardeners and gardens of the Pacific Northwest are renowned for growing lavender plants. Lavender buds have been often used as sachets to scent linens and clothing while deterring moths and insects. So again, lavender is just classic. There's so many uses for it. Some of this stuff is really new age, so I'm not going to go into it for you, but we can at another time if we want to do something different. Now, one of my favorite books, and this one, these are old. Like, I'm old already. I'm like what's considered vintage, I think. So I got these books when I was really young. These were a gift from my grandmother, and they came in a set. There's a few of them. And basically what it was the Victorian language of flowers that, I'm not sure who the author is here, but that they put to prose and paintings. And also these books came smelling like flowers, which I thought, you know, was really amazing when I was little. So let me see if I can just find the author. Sheila Pickles. Sheila Pickles is the author of The Language of Flowers. So I'm going to show you what lavender looks like. And so if you're not familiar with, let's see. If you're not familiar with the Victorians' ideology of the language of flowers, it became really popular in the Victorian period to, if you were going to send a card or send a bouquet or give flowers to your beloved, you would pick flowers that are associated with something specific. And each flower, the list, I found an original Victorian book. The list is actually quite long. It's like a book in itself where they list all the flowers and they list what they specifically mean. So according to the Victorians, lavender means distrust, and they have a poem here from John Keats. It says, "And still she sleeps in azure-lidded sleep, in blanched linen, smooth and lavendered, while he from forth the closet brought a heap of candied apples, quince, and plum and gourd, with jellies soother and creamy curd, a loosened syrups, tinctured with cinnamon, manna and dates, transferred from Fez the spices dainties, every one, from silken to cedared Lebanon." I'm not familiar with that one. But it says, for centuries, lavender has been used in the home to scent linen chests, perfume soaps, and eau de cologne, and as an herbal cure. We use a lot of lavender in the apothecary. The Elizabethans scattered it on the floor to scent their homes and to deter moths and insects. According to folklore, small poisonous snakes known as asps liked to lie under the lavender bushes, so people grew to distrust the plant, and the language of flowers came to express exactly that sentiment. So now we know. Okay, so the historical sources I pulled for you. Christy says, I hope you make an entirely lavender line at some point. You use the best smelling variety. A lot of other products use the type that just smells like soap to me. Yeah, a lot of the different lavenders do have a different type scent. In fact, I recently purchased a small amount from a different company, and I was not impressed at all. So I'm really picky about like the herbs and the oils and stuff that we put in the shop. And I saw that Blacksmith Bob is on. So everybody say hi to Blacksmith Bob. Hi, Blacksmith Bob. And Blacksmith Bob says, old? Let me tell you about old. Yeah, well, you know. Stephanie says, all I know is lavender is Yardley soap and it smells peppery to me. Does all lavender smell like that? No. No, lavender to me smells sweet. Well, let me smell it. Let me smell it and tell you so I'm not going off memory. Yeah, to me, this lavender smells sweet. I can see where you would say it smells a little bit peppery. But not all lavender smells like that. And also you have to remember that everybody's nose is a little bit different. Now, historically, perfumers and stuff, they would have trained noses, so they could pick up the slightest scent. But, you know, normal everyday Joe, everybody's going to have a different snifter. So some people may pick up different notes of the lavender, smell sweet or smell peppery. And that's the same with all essential oils and herbs. They can smell different to everybody. Yeah, the Eve of St. Agnes. Yeah, that was the poem. I have never actually heard of it before. I probably read it when I was younger, but okay, so this one is the new dispensary, Elements of Pharmacy, the preparations and compositions of New London and Edinburgh, the whole interspersed with practical observations. And this is the 3rd edition by William Lewis. This dates from 1768. Kelly says you can definitely grow your own, but a good resource for lavender is loose tea from any Asian market. I've gotten loose lavender, chamomile, rose, and they all smelled amazing. Yeah. Now, when I lived more in the middle of the state of Wisconsin, I tried to grow my own lavender, and it didn't work. But I'm better at using the herbs dried or the oils versus like trying to grow my own herbs. I did bring an aloe plant back from the dead. That's probably like the most green thumb as far as growing things that I've ever done in my life. So I'm not great with growing lavender, but you can definitely get it at a lot of places. You know, like Mountain Rose Herb is great. You know, even local, sometimes you can find local lavender farms. So, hey, Elizabeth. All right. So they have a lot here. This is in the part 2, and this is all written in 18th century speak. So I haven't like practice this at all, so let me see let me see if I can get through it. So he's talking about lavender in like the 1760s, and he says that lavender, lavandule, greater broadleaf lavender, and then he's talking about the flowers. So he says, these plants have a fragrant smell, to most people agreeable and warm, pungent, best tasting and broad-leafed sort is the strongest in both respects and yields the most in distillation, thrice as much essential oil as the other. Its oil is also hotter and specifically heavier, hence in the southern parts of France, where both kinds grow wild. This is only made use of for distillation for what is called oil of spike. The narrow leaves is the sort commonly met with our gardens, and therefore alone directed by the London College. Lavender is warm, formulating, aromatic. It is principally recommended in vertigo, palsies, tremors, and that of menstrual cramps, menstrual evacuations is what they say. In the general, all disorders of the head, nerves, the uterus, proceeding from weakness of the solids, and the, oh man, so many F's that have to be changed into S's here. And the sluggishness of the juices, because they're still like talking about biles here. It's sometimes also used externally in fermentations for paralytic limbs. The distilled oil is particularly celebrated for destroying pestilence and other curious insects. If soft, spongy paper dipped in this oil, either alone or mixed with that of almonds, can be applied at night to the parts infected by insects, they will certainly says, sorry, I can't read that. This will all be found dead in the morning. Okay, so the insects will be found dead in the morning. The official preparations of lavender are essential oil, a spirit, a conservative of the flowers. The substances are ingredients of the powder, and the oil for a balm and plaster. So we got through that. Sometimes 18th century stuff is hard to read when you don't practice. So basically he's saying that instead of using it for, like today we use it for a lot of aromatic things, this right here is used for a lot of medicinal things. So, all right, now culpepper. If you guys don't know what culpepper looks like, let me show you. Okay, that's what our dude culpepper looks like. And if anybody's interested in herbs, always Culpepper's Herbal is one to keep on hand. And this is a little bit easier to read because it is a reprint. So let's see here. So lavender. Being in almost every garden, it is so well known that it needs no description. Its flowers about the end of June and the beginning of July are when they are in season. So here Culpepper says government and virtues. Mercury owns the herb, and it is carried to the effects of very potent. Lavender is that of a special good use for all grieves and pains of the head and brain that proceed of cold cause, and is apoplexy, falling, sickness, and dropsy or sluggish malady, cramps, convulsions, palsies, and often faintings. It strengthens the stomach and frees the liver and the spleen from obstructions. It provokes women's courses. Courses are the menstrual cycle. It expels the dead child after birth. The flowers of lavender steeped in wine often help make the water that are stopped or in the troubles of the wind or colic. If the place be bathed therewith, a decoction made with the flowers of lavender, horehound, fennel, and asparagus root with a little cinnamon are very profitable and are used to help the failing sickness and the turning of the brain. To gargle with the mouth, a decoction thereof is good against toothaches. 2 spoonfuls of distilled water or the flowers taken helps them with their lost voice and also the tremblings and passions of the heart. Oh, good to know. And faintings and swooning. Oh, wow. Not only being drank, but applied to the temples and the nostrils to be smelled into, but it is not safe to use where the body is replete with blood and humors. Because of the hot and subtle spirits, therewith it is possessed. And again, like back in the 1600s, you know, you were either hot or cold, or you had different biles. Like this is all in relation to how your body was looked at medicinally from the 16th century ideology. So it says, let's see, the chemical oil drawn from lavender, usually called oil of spike, is so fierce and piercing of a quality that it is cautiously to be used, a few drops being sufficient and given with other things, either inward or outward, for many griefs. So now we know everything that lavender cures. Hey, Carl. Thanks. So let me just look through these comments real quick. Evelyn has lavender plants in her backyard. Oh, think of all the things you can do with them. Let's see. The smell really does help menstrual cramps. Also, at an event we had, someone came by and brought us a bunch of dried lavender. It was the best sleep I've ever had, sleeping on the ground. Yes, and so you can make little pillows of it and put it under your pillow. There's other things you can use too, like mugwort to help sleep. Lavender is just so wonderful. You can do so many things with it. And again, for the Jane Austen Festival, we're going to make bath pillows, and we're going to have lavender as one of the choices for bath pillows because they were grown in the garden so much. But you don't have to use them in the bath. You know, you can use them for underneath your pillow or for like around your neck and stuff. So it's going to be pretty awesome and very calming and soothing. Amy says, I recently got a book published in the late 70s that has a lot of Martha Lloyd recipes in the Jane Austen Friend who lived with them. Yes, in fact, one of our recipes came from Martha Lloyd, was the lip balm. So we have one of Martha Lloyd's lip balms. Martha Lloyd actually lived with Jane Austen for quite a while. They were considered besties, and so it's always interesting to think that there's a possibility that they worked out of these recipe books together, and that was possibly a lip balm that Jane Austen used. Now the lip balm was kind of hard, like we followed the original recipe. So today we're used to lip balms and chapped lipstick and stuff like that being really soft, but historically they actually had quite a bit of wax in it, and it was a lot harder than what we think of today. Hey Max. Oh, yummy. Yeah, lavender lemonade. That would be really awesome too. So there's just so many things you can do with it. Lavender to me is like one of the most perfect herbs. So let us get to our fun makings of lavender sugar. And I think this is really cool because, we talked about the simple syrups. When you make a simple syrup, if you don't add honey to it, it can go bad rather quick, where this is not going to go bad. So once you combine everything, you can let it sit, and then you can sift out the lavender if you want. But you should be able to keep this in an airtight container for quite a while, So you can add it to your coffees, you can add it to your desserts, anything that you can actually think of. I would not cook with it. I would not, like if you were going to make a simple syrup of it, I wouldn't do that. I would go about it a different way because with the sugar already infused with the lavender and then heating it, you're going to lose some of the tup noise of the flavors, and it's going to change because once you heat it, the molecules change. So I would not heat it, but definitely you can put it like in your coffees and teas and things like that. So let's start. First, you're going to need like an airtight container. I already measured the lavender and the sugar. I just have regular sugar. If you want it to be fancy, you could have, the real sugar that's not bleached. What you're going to do is you're going to take your lavender, your sugar, your cup. You're going to use 1/4 cup. Now, if we were in the lab, we would actually be measuring this out. You always measure things out or weigh things. You don't like just measure like this. You have to weigh it. But it's easier to just say, so I'm using 1 cup of sugar right now to 1/4 cup lavender. And I really like because I work with essential oils almost every day, I really like my my lavender strong. And whenever I get coffee flavored with lavender or any sort of flavored lavender drink, I always ask them to boost up the lavender. Okay, so you're going to take your 1/4 cup lavender, your 1 cup sugar, and you are going to combine it. And we have this lavender in the shop too. So if you're looking for culinary lavender, you can definitely use this. All of our herbs are organic. You're going to stir it up. So simple, right? So you're just going to stir it up and make sure that it's all incorporated really well. And your sugar actually, depending on how much oil is in the lavender, your sugar may actually like have a tint of blue or a tint of purple, which would be really pretty. And again, if you want more lavender in your sugar, feel free to do so. But I think this is probably plenty. And I'm just making this recipe up as I go. So as I do mostly when I'm in the kitchen. In the lab is a different story, but in the kitchen I can make up recipes. So you're going to want to put this in your bowl or your container. Make sure that it is an airtight container because otherwise it's not going to work. So like all lavender got, I don't know. It's kind of funny because even though we mix it like one side, but if you leave enough, you'll be able to hold the top and kind of mix it anyway. So, and now you can just let it sit. You don't really have to do anything with it. Like we used to have a coffee bar where we had like all of our tea and stuff set out, And then when I made those simple syrups, I just let them sit. That's when I found out they went bad because they didn't have any honey in them. I just used sugar. But this can sit out and it can look really pretty. You can just spoon from it because it is culinary lavender, so you can have lavender floating in your coffee or in your tea. Other than that, let it sit for like 2 weeks. And then if you want, you can filter out the lavender and your sugar should smell amazing. You can do this with vanilla pods and all sorts of stuff. So it's not just lavender. You can do it with a lot of things. So yeah, that's all I really have for you guys today. If you guys have anything to comment on or to question or to chat, otherwise I think we'll end it here. I just thought this would be pretty awesome and I thought I should share it with you guys. So I come up with random ideas all the time. So yeah, hey Julie. Okay, well, thanks for joining us, you guys, and I think we will cut it short here. You can get the lavender in the shop. We also have, lavender hair pomade. I can't talk today, obviously, which is great for the hair. The 18th century recipe from 1787 says that it's for the hair only, but in the modern sense, we can use it for perfumes. We can use it for bug bites. We can use it for sunburns. We can really use it for a lot of topical treatments too. So don't think that the lavender pomade is just for the hair. Remember, palmatum or pomade is actually just a salve. It's not like a specific hair ingredient. So, okay, other than that, have a great day, you guys, and take care.